If entropy is increasing, therefore, looking back is a looking towards a state of more order. This makes the current obsession with progress a desire to abandon oneself to a naturally increasing entropy. In fact, as is in the case with nihilism in general, we have here an inversion of concepts. The liberal believes it is progressive, when in fact, a liberal is conservative. It wishes to conserve the naturally uh, occurring increase in entropy. It wants to destroy all order which resists this disordering. So, in fact, liberalism is conservative. What is progressive, revolutionary, is the desire to impose upon this increasing entropy a state of order, to organize it, to resist its force. So we see here on a metaphysical level how politics has been inversed, and those who are truly conservative, the nihilists, are the ones who call themselves progressive, and the ones who are truly revolutionary and progressive in that they want to arrest entropy, they want to stop it, they want to order the disordering, are called conservatives. Hatred of the past is hatred for everything that determined the individual. When an individual hates the past, wants to correct it, wants to escape from it, what he's truly trying to do is trying to escape, run away from himself, because the individual is a manifestation of the past. Nature being a word, a term, uh, denoting the sum of all previous nurturing. Now, for the liberal, this becomes crucial because nature has been cruel to many people. They are ugly, they are weak, they are inferior, they are stupid, and this is what they want to correct. This is why they always dismiss the past, because the past is something they cannot change. Instead, they like to focus on the present, nurturing. In other words, they want to focus on a training which results in a imitation, mimicry. Since behavior is contained within social rules of etiquette, of morals, of law and order, therefore, the behavior of human beings is contained within these limits, these socially imposed limits. This creates the illusion of uniformity because human behavior is not permitted to go beyond them and to take advantage of naturally occurring disparity. The illusion of uniformity is created also by finding identity in the present. This is why identifications resulting from natural sources from the past, in other words, race, sex, are dismissed. The individual wants to be consider itself a product, a free product of the present. It wants to identify with the morals of the present, or it projects itself to some future state where it seeks identity in ideals, in projected ideals, in the coming of a better world. Now, the identification of self with the current can never be complete, since the individual, no matter how much it tries, cannot escape the past. The individual can pretend the past is overcome. It can ignore the past. it can remain ignorant of the past, but the individual cannot escape the past. The individual immerses itself in modern behavioral standards because there it finds an escape from a past it does not like. So we see in liberalism, despite the fact that they speak about how they love nature and they want to protect nature, a selective love of nature. For them, nature is this pristine place where no violence is experienced, a sort of paradise where no cruelty is present, where the fruits have no worms, they have no blemishes. Everything is pristine, everything is clean, everything is perfect. This is the only kind of nature they want, a quarantined nature, an artificial, a selectively appreciated nature, a nature void of any source of hurtfulness, of disparity, of inequality, of injustice. The illusion of uniformity, as I said before, is created by this imposition of a rule over behavior. To explain how this occurs, let me give you a scenario. Let's say a man decides to adopt and raise two different animals in his home. He places them in the home within the walls. He does not permit them to exit this space. This is called institutionalization. Now it begins raising, let's say, a cat and a dog in exactly the same way. It imposes a strict rule over their behavior. It trains them at the same time how to eat, where to eat, when to eat. It regiments their behavior. Now the dog and the cat, having no other source of identification, begin thinking of themselves as one and the same. Although they are different species, because they behave now in a uniform way, in a similar way, each to its own ability, they start believing that they are actually one and the same species. This is what has happened with humanity. We have been placed within this contained environment, this artificial, this simulated world. And within this, a strict, regimented code of behavior is imposed to the point where all disparity is covered up by a uniform behavior, since we are trained from early on to behave in exactly the same way, to value the same things, to worship the same gods, to appreciate the same things in the same way. Whatever slight divergences do occur in taste are quickly explained away, or covered up, or blamed on perspectivism. Perspectivism is, of course, a favorite tool of the liberal. With it, we get this idea that all cultures are the same, all people are the same. Quality is eliminated. It's all a matter of taste. There is no such thing as beauty, objective beauty, since beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Everything is reduced down to subjectivity. In the past, a child could count on his father to connect him to his heritage, to his inheritance, to his past. The father was the leader, the head, the very manifestation of this past. He was the carrier of the entire family's reality. And through the father, a child anchored himself in the world. He could draw from their guidance, advice, an ideal. Through the elimination of the father in modern times, children are left to the winds. That is, they are disconnected from their past. from their inheritance, from their heritage, from their traditions. The system now steps in to cover this absence, this void. It steps in as a father figure, an authority, like the church did, like any institution does. It steps in, takes the child, now desperate for guidance, for a father figure, for an ideal, for a source of identity, since the past has been stripped away from him and he doesn't know who he is, what he is. And this system now offers an identity, usually materialism or hedonism. It turns the child into a slave, somebody who services the system, and as a reward gains from the system a sense of pride, a sense of value, a meaning for its life. Now that all meaning has been stripped away from it, all identity has been stripped away from it. It has no past. These children, lost in the present, lost within the modern world, have been castrated from their past. This is why the elimination of the father was so important, in order to assimilate children within modern systems, modern ideals, because the father was the conduit through which other sources of wisdom and other sources of value and ideals could be passed on to the child. Sources which sometimes conflicted and contradicted the modern, the immediate. Of course, it's easy to convince a child that the past doesn't matter when the past has been so cruel to it, when what it sees there is only pain, is insulting to it, because it sees it in its presence. The presence of the individual, like I said, is a manifestation of the past. Every time a child looks in the mirror, it sees this past mirrored back. This is why appearances had to be slandered, they had to be eliminated as relevant. This is the whole idea of that beauty is skin deep, that appearance doesn't matter, that pigmentation doesn't matter. But funny how pigmentation doesn't matter, but form does. In effect, the child had to be raised under the comforting premises that its sensual perceptions were flawed, were in error, they were superficial, and that there was a deeper reality here. Just as Christianity proposed a better reality, a beyond, modern humanism proposed a deeper, a hidden reality, what Pinker called the ghost in the machine, when in fact all appearances is the existent. Appearance is the manifestation of existence. For the system, though, this had to be eliminated as a factor. So the child had to be trained easily, of course, because, like I said, the individual who feels ashamed of its past, who cannot find anything to feel proud or good about, is easily seduced by this idea that appearance is meaningless, that it doesn't matter, that there's a deeper core, some kind of immutable core. And we see here also the connection between Christianity and modern humanism. This idea of a hidden reality, this hatred of the world, this hatred of sensuality, of appearances, the proposition of something hidden or something beyond, something immutable, something uniform. The world exposes itself to us as a continuous multiplicity of disparity. All around us we see differences, the different, Even in ourselves, we're not the same from one moment to the other. Fluidity means a continuous divergence, and yet modern memes teach the mind the comforting stability of an immutable monistic whole, something that never changes despite the fact that all around us is change, something that connects us all. This is a comforting thing. I think I've said this before, but I think it should be repeated. The modern nihilistic meme, which is now dominating the West, could be tracked back all the way to the past, all the way to the emergence of Christianity, all the way back to Judaism. Now, Judaism, how did it begin? It began as a comforting idea amongst the lowliest of the low. This is why it found a home amongst many tribes, many peoples, because it was seductive to the lowliest, the most desperate, the weakest, the most impoverished, the sickly. And it proposed for them the idea of a reversal of hierarchies, where the meek were now the strong, where to be meek, to be weak, was actually a virtue. From there, it infected Rome via Christianity, once it had morphed into Christianity by its contact with Hellenism. Again, how did Christianity become so strong? It infected Rome from in the catacombs, amongst the rabble, amongst the slaves, amongst the females, the children, the sickly, the ones seeking for a reversal of their fortune, the wronged. And then later on, you can see the connection in Marxism. How did Marxism spread? It found willing, open ears amongst the poor, the desperate again, the ones who felt wronged by the system, the many. And now we can also see this in feminism and the MREs. The same attraction to an idea which comforts them, which offers them a relief from reality, a desire to overturn the real world, to make weakness into a strength, to make stupidity into genius, to make the up down and the down up. This is what nihilism is. It's an overturning, a reversal of the world, where the world is about divergence, about inequality. Nihilism proposes equality. Where the world is about competition, about war, about battle, about struggle, the nihilists propose peace, uniformity, comfort. Where the world is about violence, about need, the nihilist proposes the absence of need, happiness, all those nice things all kids want for themselves. And because the wronged are always going to be more than the others, the dominated will be more than the dominating. The majority will always be attracted to these ideas, these memes. And by being attracted to them, they are now controlled. The weakness is turned into a tool of mass population control. Give the people what they want, they so desperately need. Feed them ideas they so desperately want to believe, and you can create sheepish populace, easily manipulated, easily governed easily guided, feed them the delusion that they are free to vote, that they have choice, then guide their choice and see how happy they remain, convinced that when they choose between A and B that they are really flexing their independence. Now let's turn to Weiniger, somebody who explored the male and the female type and actually came up with a very interesting theory about how attraction works. I urge everybody to read him. He is of Jewish descent, which is ironic given what will follow. And he committed suicide, like actually Heisman did. Heisman actually states that he does commit suicide because he wants to remain loyal to his own people's ethos. So, let's see what Weiniger says. Quote, "The hatred of woman is always only the not yet overcome hatred of one's own sexuality." And of course, if we listen to the MRAs, we can almost hear the hatred of self, the hatred of their own masculinity. They seeking for an excuse to remain kids, boys, not to mature into manhood, because maturing into manhood would mean maturing sexually. It's a desire to remain stunted. So now let's turn to something more controversial. Remember, Otto Weiniger is a Jew. And I quote, "But first I want to define exactly what I mean by Jewishness. One is not dealing with a race or a people, and even less with legally acknowledged profession. One can only define it as a spiritual attitude, a psychic constitution, which offers an opportunity for all men, and which merely found its grandiose realization in historical Jewry. Nothing proves the veracity of the statement more than anti-Semitism. The truest, most Aryan or Aryans, certain of their Aryanness, are no anti-Semites. They cannot even fathom hostile anti-Semitism. On the other hand, one can always detect certain Jewish traits in aggressive anti-Semites. It would be impossible for this to be any other way, as one loves only those traits in the other which one would wholeheartedly embrace oneself, yet can never fully attain, so one hates in the other only that which one never wants to be, yet which one partially retains. One does not hate something with which one has nothing in common." So you can see how anti-Semitism now used as a mantra for the cult of victims, because anti-Semitism actually feeds into this cult of victimhood. Let me proceed now to the last quote before I finish. Again, Otto Weiniger. Quote, "Our age, which is not only the most Jewish but also the most effeminate of all ages, the age in which the arts are only a rag for wiping its moods, and which attributes the artistic urge to animal games, the age of the most gullible anarchism, the age without a sense of for the state and justice, the age of sexual ethics, the age of the most shallow of all historical methods, historical materialism, the age of capitalism and Marxism, the age in which history, life, and science are reduced to economics and technology." Sound familiar? Read